Hemp Wizard products are the Hemp Wizard signature series artists are Walking Corpse Syndrome, So High, Black Sasquatch, Fester, You can give your beard the magic touch by going to hempwizard.net today and rock out with your. Just kidding.
And that is my cue to start the show. Welcome to another live edition of the Hard Rocket Sports Show, live from higher top Hard Rocket Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get-together where we bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and, of course, wide world of sports. And thank you all for joining us on this Thursday, March the 7th in the year of our good Lord 2024. Hope you guys have had a great week. And I've had a okay week. Hold on, I'm just making a note here. I forgot to put something on my sheet. Okay. I hope you guys had a great week. My week has been busy. It is swamping by me. I am exhausted. I have to tell you, I haven't been this tired in a long time. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week right now, but that's okay. Work is good. You can't complain when you got a job and you're making money. And even though, it's not, I like to be doing this for a living. That'd be much, much more fun. I do like the people I work with. I love the people I work for. And it does pay the bills. So, listen, there's many more things to be worried about. Starting with, if you guys have any, after the show's over tonight, if you need to see a good comedy routine, I love a good comedy. Eddie Murphy, George Carlin, Dice. Tonight at 9 o'clock is the State of the Union. That's right. The befuddler, the sleepy one, the crooked Joe Biden. That's right. Your fake president. And I say fake. He was elected president. I'm not into that fake election shit. But boy, oh boy, he's the worst president ever. He will be standing up there in front of the American people telling them how great he has done for 3 years and how he should be reelected. If you reelect him, you get what you deserve, and I hope he sinks every one of you if you vote for him. I'm sorry, I got to say it. He is the atrocious and the worst president of my lifetime. And I thought Jimmy Carter was bad. That was a little early for me. But if you see back to the rationing of gas, the Iranian hostages, and everything else that the country was going through Jimmy Carter, I'm not sure it's any better now. This guy is a joke, and anybody who wants to sit there and tell you that this guy is all right. Now, you can tell me Trump's an ass. You can tell me you don't like him as a president. There are two different worlds here. This ain't about age, all right? People don't, just because you're 70, 80, 90, or 100, you can be sharp as a tack. This is not, you can't be president if you're 80 years old. This president is a joke because, first off, his policies suck. Second of all, I feel bad for the guy. He's not even coherent, and they're trotting him out there like some stuffed animal and propping him up. So, but if you got any time, if you have some time, about 9 o'clock, you turn on to a bunch of channels. You can watch this guy go up there and tell you how great he's doing and how it's everybody else's fault but his if there's a problem. So I got to get that out of the way before I get anybody on. I will turn it on. I will watch the State of the Union because this guy was actually sitting there talking about We got crime problems. We got obviously immigration problems. We got all sorts of issues running around this country. And this guy was talking about how the Cookie Monster noticed how bags of cookies were lighter because there's less in them, but they're more expensive. If you haven't seen it, please YouTube it. This guy was talking about potato chips and the Cookie Monster because that's his biggest worry. Guys, he might be a nice guy, and I don't even think he is. This guy has done nothing for 50 years in public service, and he has ruined this country. And if you ain't seen it, you ain't paying attention, you want to vote for him, hey, that's your God-given right, and God bless you. If you do, you're zany, you're nuts, and you got to have your head examined. So vote for whoever you want. Don't vote for the other guy if you don't like him. Fine. You can't vote for this guy. This guy is a menace to this country. He's done nothing in 3 years, and he ain't going to do nothing now. And if you vote him in, he ain't finishing, and it's going to be Kamala. And if you think this guy's a joke, wait. So that was my public service announcement for this week. Let's get past all of that. We got a lot to talk about. We got, I don't know if it's a big fight coming up. Now all of a sudden there's a big fight coming. We got a lot of football talk. The Bills are cutting out their roster up. There's a couple of big-name free agents running around. We'll talk about those. We'll talk about there's a big movie coming out with one of the another music biography movie. So we'll talk about that. We got Aaron Rodgers conversations. We got a lot of other stuff to talk about. We got the end of amateur sports and college sports specifically. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got only 2 hours to do it, less than that right now because I've been yapping. So let's get to it. We got a lot to talk about. And, of course, we'll do it all right here on the Hard Rock and Sports Show. So thanks for tuning in. But I can't get the show started without getting on my buddy, my pal, and my friend of 40 years, the sexiest man on his side of the screen, Mr. Jeff Butt Cutlets Towinski.
What's up, man?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Just trying to get my dog to come over here on the blankets. We're in the witness protection program from the cat.
Oh, what's going on?
Cat's just a menace, man.
Adam Hines, you are absolutely on spot, my friend. That guy is as corrupt as the day is long, but that's for a whole different conversation. So what's going on with the cat? The cat don't want to let the Basil in the room?
What's that?
I said you said that the cat, what's the cat's name? Laura?
Linda
won't let Basil in the room. Is that what's going on?
No. The cat just wants to play with her.
Oh.
But the dog is scared shitless of it.
Oh.
So I feel bad for the dog.
Yeah.
But like the cat will come up and down, and the dog is just a shell of herself.
All right.
So I feel bad for the dog.
I got you. All right. So you're going to corral Basil onto the lap for a couple of minutes and then put her on the bed type of thing?
So she's right now, I got some blankets over here for her.
All right.
She's getting comfortable, but she won't get totally comfortable. But there she is. Right, baby.
All right. Well, so Jeff, let's get the show kicked off the way we always do it. And the first question I got for you tonight is, Jeff, how was your week?
It was long. I'll tell you that much. Thank God it's over.
Yeah. Well, I got one more in me, unfortunately, and I'm tired. I have to tell you, I am as tired as I've ever been today. So, we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of stuff happening in sports and music, and I couldn't do this without you. So I'm glad we're doing it together. And we just before we get the show started, any new music news, Jeff? You got any? We had the May 8th gig. Is that right? May 8th?
What's that?
We got the May 8th gig.
Yeah.
That's a weekday gig. Is that like a Wednesday or a Thursday?
It's a Wednesday.
Really?
I don't know if there's something going on there, but it seems to be a big show, and then all of a sudden now everybody's worried that it's on a weekday. So they said yes to the show and everything else, and then like a month and a half later, hey, isn't that a weeknight?
Well, it is a summer. Technically, it's not the summer yet, but it is a summer night. I would think people would be happy to go out. Is it at a bar or is it at a place?
What the fuck is the name of that place? Hop Shop.
Okay. So,
Hop Shop.
Yeah. So again, I would kind of figure on a nice night, sun will be out. I mean, the clocks go forward this week, so we get a little more sunlight for a while. And I would think people want to get out. So May 8th, go see the Remorons. Anything else new? We got any other gigs lined up? Right?
No, nothing going on right now. No.
May 30th, don't forget, we got the big jam. Jeff and myself and a couple buddies.
March 30th.
March 30th. I'm sorry, March 30th. That's right. Correct. Yes, I'm looking forward to that and all that good stuff. And listen, we got a lot to get to. We got a big summer coming. A lot of football news. Obviously, this baseball season is 20-something days away. We're creeping up on 10 years of the show. So there's a lot happening here at Hard Rocket Sports. So we're glad to have you guys with us each week and looking forward to that. And of course, we'll be here every Thursday night to tell you about what's going on. It's a big gig. I'll do a weekday gig. You used to do way back then. If it's a big gig, gotcha. Yeah, to me, when it gets to the summertime, it kind of all bets are off. People will go out on a good night and hang. It doesn't matter if listen, it's a lot less likely. But people will do it, on a nice night. People will go to a bar and hang out, have a couple beers, and see a good band. So, good for the Remorons, and it's a good day, good time for Jeff. I know how much he enjoys it. Any new bases in the future? Have you we settled into the 50?
No, you never know what.
You never know.
That's true. I can't tell you that because I don't know.
All right, well, it's fair. It's a fair assessment. You do never know. So. Johnny Collins is going to be there. I see that. Johnny Collins is going to be there for the big May 8th gig. Thank you, John. And John will be there actually March 30th. He's agreed to come down and sing a couple of tunes.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to be there.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. So that'd be fun. I would say it's a little scary on my part. When it's one thing you do the big jam every year and they kind of like fade in and fade out. And, you're kind of surrounded by a bunch of people. This one, Ronnie Morms and Jimmy and yourself, it's a little bit, what's the right word? A little, makes me nervous. That's all. You want to make sure you play well and perform, and I've been working at it. So it should be, but I'm looking forward to getting out and playing with my buds and having just a jam.
No reason to be nervous, man. We're just going in there to have fun. And
that's it.
Adam Hines, once you're doing that many shows a year, that becomes a job.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shit, man.
That is a lot of shows. Yeah.
That's way too many shows a year for me. That's almost 10 a month.
Well, listen, if you're making cash and that's maybe your primary thing or the bulk of your day, I can live with that. There's worse ways to make a living, but Johnny Collins, thank you, my brother. You're good for my ego, my friend. But again, it's a little daunting when you're standing up there and Johnny's there and Jimmy's there and Jeff's there and Ronnie. I haven't jammed with Ronnie Morms, like that in 40 years. So it is what it is. But listen, we're not here to talk about jamming. We're here to talk about sports and music, Jeff. And there's a lot going on. There's a ton going on right now. Maybe we'll get my dad on first, and then I'll get to the what I think is the lead story right now, and we'll get back to it. So let's get my dad on, see what he's got to say, and then we'll come on back and we'll talk about a big fight that's been announced today. We'll talk about something Aaron Rodgers announced. We got let's see, some NFL news. Caitlin Clark, and she broke the record, and I got a little bit of issue there. And Dartmouth basketball, the end of college sports and amateur sports is dead. All of that. And we got a big announcement I saw today on Jeff. Another member of the music world from our youth will get a biography movie. And it's an interesting one to me. So I'll tell you, I don't know if you saw it, but I will tell you what it is, and I will bring it back onto you.
Okay.
All right. So hang on, but let's get my Pops on. He's back. He's a little under the weather last week, so he didn't join us. We always miss Pops when he's not on, but he's back this week, and let's see what he's got to say. What's up,
Hello,
Pop?
guys. Yeah, I still got that cough, so please forgive me if I sound.
You sound sick, Mr. Florio.
Yeah. But better than that, it's just the sore throat. Yeah, I'm listening to the radio and the TV, and you're hearing a lot of garbage about the girl from Iowa State
Yep.
Pete, let me tell you, it doesn't matter. If you didn't see Pete Maravich play, I don't care what anybody says. Nobody handled the ball better than he did.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. I don't care. I love Michael Jordan, Dr. J, all these guys. Pistol Pete was phenomenal. Shooter, averaged 50 points, 60 points. I mean, it's just that he never got he never made it, and he died way, way too short.
Yeah, I agree. And Jeff, I don't know if you know the story. Caitlin Clark is a college basketball player. She broke the NCAA scoring record. Now, I don't know if you heard about it, if you know who she is, but
no, it doesn't ring a bell.
She plays for Iowa. I think Iowa State. Maybe my dad's right, but she broke the record, and it's a great achievement. But to me, for whatever reason, they have kind of taken the record and combined it with the men's record. And yeah, you're right, Frankie Catalano. He wasn't a great pro. For whatever reason, his game did not translate to the pro game the same way. And again, it was way too short and all of that. But the problem I have with it, Jeff, is it's great to say that, but now look at the day. She played 4 years and change. He's played 3. And she played against women. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be that guy, but it's a little different playing against, Jeff, a bunch of future, maybe WNBA players than you playing against guys, a bunch of men. And I'm sorry, you can't put the same thing. It's a great achievement for her, but don't compare it to the men's record, Jeff. Just keep it. She broke the women's record and leave it alone.
I agree. No women and men's records should be combined or held against one another. If you want to compare it to say that, Joe did this in 4 years versus what Mary did in 4 years as a comparison, that's one thing. But sadly, not many people want to sit and watch women's sports compared to men's sports. And it's no fault of theirs. And in certain situations, men are just, listen, let's say for what it is, men are stronger, faster in a lot of situations than women are. And men's sports is a lot more appealing than women's sports. Women in basketball can't do the same things that men do at a 10-foot basket. You can't expect them to slam dunk and do some of the things that men do. It's not their fault. It's just that's how it is. They're not built for that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And to Adam Hines' point, great job. I got the stats here. So she played from 2020 to 2024. He played from 67 to 70. She played in 130 games. He played in 83. She took 509 3-pointers. He took 0 3-pointers. It's a big difference, Dad, in the two games, and the two should not be intertwined together. It should be the women's record and the ladies' record, and it should stay that way because it doesn't. And the competition is different. And I'm sorry to be chauvinistic, anti-feminist.
But Tom, you're not being chauvinistic. You're not being chauvinistic. If that was the case, then there would be intergender boxing.
Right.
You know what I mean? When that happens, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, Dad, nobody's going to play, Duke, the Duke men's team versus the Iowa women's team. They're not getting on the court at the same time.
I agree.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound like I'm getting off the subject, but I'm not. So just hear me out. Remember when the Detroit Lions went 0-16 several years back?
Sure.
Okay, I remember reading an article where somebody asked, the Detroit Lions are so bad, would a college football team be able to come in and beat them?
Right, I remember that.
Okay, and they turned around in the article, they said, as bad as the Detroit Lions are, they would absolutely demolish a college football team. Like they wouldn't stand no chance against them because they're professionals. They're in the NFL. He said the game would probably be over by halftime. That the college kids wouldn't stand a chance. So it's almost like that same comparison.
It's a good analogy. It's a very good analogy. Yeah.
Like they may be competitive for a short time, but sooner or later, look, there he is. Hey, who's quarterbacking for the Broncos now? Oh no, and they're not going to even have a quarterback this year. I hear the punter's going to quarterback because of that fucking salary cap.
Oh boy, here we go.
Gotta go.
Hasn't even started yet. We gotta go. Frankie, lit the fuse. Frankie, lit the fuse. Hey, Pop, let me ask you a question. Maravich is a little before my time, and I imagine the reason why his game in college didn't do well in the pros was, he was such a ball handler, but he was a little bit of a showman and a little bit over the top. Did his game in the pros not transcend the same as it did in the college ranks?
No.
Because of that, was he too much showboat?
He was good. The problem was in college, he could take 35, 40 shots in a game. In the pros, you couldn't do that.
Right.
You couldn't go on a team like the Knicks, Baltimore Bullets, Los Angeles Lakers, and take 35. But he was an excellent. I never saw anybody handle a ball like he did. And he could pass. You'd swear he was going to the basket. Next thing you knew, he threw the ball behind him. He knew where everybody. He was just a phenomenal ball player, but he had a lot of problems with his heart.
Right.
And a lot of people think that he couldn't make it in the pros. He reminded me a lot of Earl Monroe.
Okay.
Who played with the Knicks.
Sure.
And he wasn't a great defensive player, but offensively, he was fantastic. I thought he was one of the best ball handlers I ever saw with a basketball.
Yeah, again, I'm glad you brought it up because it was one of my topics for tonight. But, again, hats off to Caitlin Clark. She put up great numbers, and I think it's phenomenal on all that. But it's a different game. 3-point. She's shooting 3-pointers from half court. Terrific. Good for her. She plays against other women. She's not playing against 6'7" basketball players. She's not playing against physically stronger men. I'm sorry. Don't bring the record in. It doesn't belong together. She's not the, you know what, Jeff? Are we going to say now she's the greatest college basketball player of all time? Are we going to say she's better than Michael Jordan was? You're going to say she's better than, Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner? No, she's maybe she's the best college basketball player who was a female. I don't argue it. I don't watch enough college basketball, women's basketball, but please don't put her in the category. She scored a lot of points in almost Jeff double the games that it took Pete Maravich to score. He's had 83. She went 130. It's not quite double, but it ain't far off.
I totally agree. Women don't want men to play in women's leagues.
Rightfully so.
And damn right. They shouldn't be. So I would think that the last thing that they want to do is be combined with men on any scoring records. Let them have their records. It's only fair.
Absolutely. It's a lot like the Negro Leagues. Now they're starting to say they're going to bring the Negro League records into Major League Baseball. And while I don't have a huge problem with it, you didn't compete against each other. So to me, you can't bring those records in. It's two different things. And that is the same thing with Caitlin Clark's record. She did not compete against men. Don't put her record up against men. It just sounds sexy to everybody else. Oh, she got and again, it's a lot of points. Don't get me wrong, but don't tell me she beat Pistol Pete's record when to me she did not.
There's a movie out. I forgot who played him. It's a very good movie on his life.
Oh, really?
And if you ever get a chance, you got nothing to do. I forgot who played. I can't remember. I remember watching it, and they did a very good job of it. And he was not appreciated as a ball player, and he wasn't a real snotty or creepy guy that you would say, well, he was a bit of a show off. No, he wasn't.
It's 1991 pitch called Pistol Pete, The Birth of a Legend, and it was starring nobody I've ever heard of. Millie Perkins, Nick Benedict, and Adam Guiar.
Names only.
Yeah, nobody I've ever heard of, but that's.
But if you ever get a chance, you got it on a couple hours to kill. Watch it, and he was great. I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm getting.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
Enjoy
Pop.
yourself. I'll see you
I'll
over
see
the
you-
weekend, Tom.
I'll see you tomorrow night for dinner, Dad.
All right. All right, Jeff. Take care. Say hello
You
to
will.
everybody.
I will.
Take care, buddy.
That's my dad. He checks in with us every week, and we love having him. And yeah, I was glad he brought it up. But Jeff, just to put the final pin in this one, women want their own place in the world, and they should have it. And if you want to put women and men on the court,
In certain instances, they should have it.
correct. But if you want it,
If they want
to compete, if you want your records to compete, if you want your records to be placed or put against men, then you should compete against men. And then if you achieve that, I'm with you. But if you're competing against women, then your record needs to stay separate.
I agree. I totally agree. I hear what you're saying. You know what? Listen, if women want to compete against men in the real world, such as I'm going for a job to be an engineer, and so is Joan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Joan went to college, so maybe she should get it instead of me.
Right.
That's one thing. But if I'm my size, I'm going to become a professional wrestler in the WWE, and then you put a 120-pound woman up against somebody of my weight and stuff. That's not exactly a fair, and
Yeah.
match.
And listen, the last year with all this, transgender women, I'm going to call them, competing against women in women's sports and the outrage against it, I would think the last thing they want to do is bring that record and her achievement into the men's world. And again, while I understand the theory behind it, I think it's wrong. And God bless Caitlin Clark. She's a fine basketball player. Nothing wrong with it. But please do not think that she could go into a top men's team or any men's team and compete the same way. It's not physically possible. And until I see it happen, I will tell you, Jeff, women don't belong in men's sports, and certainly men don't belong in women's sports.
No, and here's another good way to put it if you're confused by any chance. Look at boxing. Boxing is segregated into how many different weight classes?
Yeah.
Would you put a guy that weighs 118 pounds in the ring against a true heavyweight?
No.
And well, of course not, because it would be murder. You
Right.
know what I mean? And probably wouldn't take very long either.
Yeah.
A couple good shots, maybe the guy with the little size could stay away from him because of speed.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
But he's not going to be able to. He's not going to have the strength and power to this guy pops in and out, man. Like,
No, but Frankie, you're right. I get it, but it's not fair to compare them when they don't compete. And I get it. I'm not saying, listen, if a woman wants to try, I'm all for it. Go for it. But in the same token, I would tell you that the best women's basketball player could not compete with the bottom third of any NBA roster. It's just physics. I know you are, Frankie. I know you are.
Of course you are, but it's the stuff that you say and like bob and weave and like throw something in there.
Hey, what we should do right now, we should play the final.
Oh, yes.
We have to, right? Because Frankie never saw it. Frankie,
you need to know what happened
to Pepe. Yeah, so
and
Frankie,
it's only right if you watch it now.
I have the trilogy, so I'm going to play the it's not even a trilogy; it's a fiveology. So here's the very end of Pepe. We saw the journey, but for Frank's sake, we will play them all right in a row. Ready, Jeff?
Go for it.
It is I, Pepe. Do not make no noise, as I am in hiding. Find someone looking for me, looking to unmask me, to see who the man is behind the mask. And I cannot let that happen under any circumstances, because no one in the world would believe who it is. I don't know what to do. Wait, I hear footsteps. I think they're on to me. Oh my God, it's those kids. Look, gang, there he is. Quick, grab him. Take the mask off. Huh? Okay, you caught me. It is I, Russell Wilson. I was Pepe all along. I just wanted to have a normal life. That's all. Wait a minute. Look at that. There's a tag there. Pull that mask off him. That's not the real Russell Wilson. You caught me. You caught me. It's just me, Frank Catalano. I'm just trying to be a true Denver Broncos fan, because I can't admit that deep down inside, I'm a Jet fan. That's right. I think that the Jets are the greatest football team to ever walk the face of the earth. Me being a Denver Broncos fan, just a sham. I am the only true Jet fan on this planet. Now I'm busted.
True cinema, my friends, right up there with The Godfather and some of the French Connection. We have the Pepe finale, and it was all. We thought he was chasing Russell Wilson. Then we thought he was Russell Wilson, and it turns out it was our buddy Frank Catalano all the time. So bye Pepe, welcome back Frank, and that puts the saga to bed. So if anybody wanted to know, Frankie, if you missed it, that's it. That was Jeff's cinematic masterpiece, the Adventures of Pepe.
Yep, there we go. Next year, who knows what's going to happen next?
Yeah, that's it. We put to bed Pepe. We put to bed the Raider Report. Will the Raider Report be making a comeback next year, or is that the final for the Raider Report?
Listen, the Raider Report is a completely different entity.
That's true.
You know, Frank was a man. Frank was a good sport about it all season long.
That's true.
We had a lot of fun with it, you know, along the way. But you know, we're talking about a spiritual entity here.
That's
with
true.
The so you know, he could pop up. He may even pop up tonight. You don't know.
You never know. That's very true. So again, stick around. You never know what you're going to see when you watch the Hard Rocket Sports Show. That's Jeff and I'm Tom, and we're here doing this every Thursday night as we get ready for the end of the show, and of course for the big State of the Union with the State of the Moron himself. But stick around. We got plenty of show left to do, and of course, make sure you visit our friend Mike Weissman and everybody over at Hemp Wizard Beard Care Company. That's right, where we have our own fragrance, the Sunday Audible, personally endorsed and actually helped to fabricate. Mr. Jeff Towinski came up with the fragrance for the Sunday Audible. Jeff's a big fan of this and all of the products on the Hemp Wizard website, which is, of course, hempwizard.net. So if you have a family member or a friend who has a beard, maybe it's not as smooth and silky as Jeff's, well, do yourself a favor and go to hempwizard.net and purchase some of their beard care products. And of course, for those of you who don't have the luxurious beard that Jeff does, you can buy their wonderful line of skincare products, and which I will tell you are just great. So if you got a few minutes and you want to support small business, a veteran, a guy who does a lot for the community, please visit the Hemp Wizard, a beard care company, at hempwizard.net, and make sure you purchase the Sunday Audible fragrance. It's the best one out there. Nothing wrong with Adam Hines and the Ska Sasquatch guys and SJs. They're all great, but you really want to make sure you buy this. This got some big reviews, Jeff. I saw all those big reviews that this one got.
Yes, that is a very good one. I like it. I use it often. To me, it's more of a fall scent. And like for the winter, I had one called Believe. That my dog is being a real pain in the nuts. Lay down.
So, all right. So again, check that out. We got a lot to get to. Again, we're about a half hour into the show. I hope you guys have had a great week, and it's starting to warm up out there, at least on the East Coast. I was a little bit worried. A couple rainy days. I was freezing outside the last couple of days, getting rained on, going, why am I doing this in the rain? But listen, this is what pays the bills, what keeps us on Thursday night. So we do what we have to do. But still a lot to get to. Let's stay in the sports world for now. Frank's here, so let's talk a little bit about his favorite subject, Jeff, and that is the Denver Broncos and the release of one Russell Aloysius Wilson.
Is it Russell Wilson that was released?
He was.
Or
He
was
was.
it Frank Catalano?
Well, listen, we don't know that. Now we're not so sure. It could be Frank Catalano who's looking for a job next year. But Russell Wilson will be released. The strong rumors are out there are the Pittsburgh Steelers being the team, the best fit and a chance for Russell Wilson. If you're Russell Wilson or his agent, let's say you're Russell Wilson's agent and you were going to try to find Russell Wilson a job in the NFL, what would be your sales pitch? Because you look at it, his last few years have not been great. He's alienated a lot of people, including teammates. He has not done a great job in the NFL the last few years. What would you, as Russell Wilson's agent, use as your selling point to get him a starting football job in the NFL? Could you get him a starting job in the NFL?
That is a very hard question to answer because of what you said. One, just his last couple years in the NFL have not been stellar.
No.
Okay, that is one thing for sure. Okay, then he's getting up there in age. Okay, any team that has a quarterback at this point in time is not going to be in the market. Would you lay down? Lay down. It's not going to be in the market for a maybe starter. And when I say maybe starter, it's not that he's not a starter in this league, but I don't think he's one of the elite starters in this league. And I don't think that he's going to be able to, would he be able to beat somebody out? I mean, would he be able to beat out another Wilson, Zach Wilson? Without a doubt.
Yeah.
But if you put him on a team like I know Pittsburgh is supposedly interested in him.
That's the big news. That's the big one.
Is he enough to put Pittsburgh over the top? I don't know.
Well,
how old was Big Ben when he decided to retire?
40.
He was that old?
Yeah, Ben was 40, if not 41, but 40 for sure.
I don't know about that. I didn't think he was that old.
You'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure Big Ben was 40. But if you were his age, if I was, my selling point would be, hey guys, you're not looking long term. One, Denver's going to be paying a large chunk of salary, so you're going to get him at basically the veteran minimum, and he's looking to put the final stamp on his career and go out with a blaze of glory. You got to sell it that he's going to be the veteran leader that he should be all in, and want to change the narrative. I mean, obviously, I don't think I would take that. If I were the Giants, I wouldn't want any part of him. I'm sure you wouldn't want him for the Jets. But if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers or a team maybe like Cleveland or a team that, and Cleveland's not taking, they got a quarterback, but if you're a team that's close and maybe has a young quarterback on the bench, you may want to think about taking a shot at Russell Wilson at the veteran minimum. And if it doesn't work out, he holds the clipboard for a couple $100,000 a year. Atlanta's a good one, Frankie. Yeah, absolutely. And Atlanta's a good choice. And I think Pittsburgh's a good one. The problem I have is you need a strong coach. You would need somebody who's going to kick him in the ass and say, get off your high horse and get out there and play.
He was 39 when he retired.
Okay.
39.
Yeah. Joey, I agree to a real extent, but, there's a good possibility that guys like Kenny Pickett are being rushed into their spot. So the problem with guys like Kenny Pickett is, they don't have the ability to sit there and kind of learn and let the game slow down for them a little bit. Listen, we've all played football, even at small levels. And when you first start playing against better competition, it's flying by you. I don't care if you're playing peewee football, street football, or in the NFL. It's all relative. And eventually, some point, it slows down for you to the point where, you're better than the game. And, a guy like Kenny Pickett may be a good quarterback, Jeff, down the future, but maybe the game's just a little too fast for him right now. And being on the bench behind Russell Wilson for you, look at Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback, but I think the game has kind of slowed down. Same thing for Geno Smith the last couple of years. Maybe just the game finally caught up, and maybe Kenny Pickett needs a little time to let the game slow down.
You know what, Tom? I understand what you're saying, but here's the thing. how many years is that? Kenny Pickett this would be his third year starting.
This would be his third year, yeah.
How many years do you need? There's guys. Look at Stroud. He came into the league. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the league first year out. Then you get guys. Zach Wilson, second draft pick. Sam Darnold was the second draft pick in the year he was drafted. And that year you had Lamar Jackson, who was 32nd, and it looked like he wasn't going to do anything. He has 2 MVPs to his credit. What was it? Sam Rosen was the other one? No, not Sam Rosen.
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen was supposed to be the most NFL-ready quarterback that draft. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. So, like it depends. I understand what you're saying, but you know what? When you're a high draft pick, you don't have the opportunity to turn around and say, like, okay, you're going to learn for 3 or 4 years. The people want to see you now. And if you don't have it after year 3, I'm sorry. I don't think you have it at all.
Again, I'm not going to completely argue that. All I would say is there's got to be a chance. Some guys just start later, and I'm not saying you're wrong. If you're a third-year starter, you probably, if you don't have it, you're never going to have it. All I'm saying is maybe there's a chance to bring in a guy like Russell Wilson. And again, would I bring him in? Absolutely not. I'm just saying is that maybe there's a chance that Kenny Pickett takes a year off, rides the pine, holds the clipboard, learns from a guy like Russell Wilson, who's a smart guy and a smart player. I don't think he's great, but maybe that time to let the game kind of catch up and learn some of the nuances of how to play the game from a veteran, a guy who's won a Super Bowl, might not be the worst thing. Now, again, I think Atlanta was a good spot. I think the Patriots are a good spot. I think the Commanders are a good spot. There are a few teams that could probably use a Russell Wilson type guy. Would I? Absolutely not, Jeff. I would not do it.
Well, let me ask you something. Say you get Russell Wilson, right? You're one of those teams and you get Russell Wilson. Are you using him for what? To be a bridge quarterback? He probably doesn't look at himself as a bridge quarterback at this point in time. Are you getting him as somebody to mentor somebody? I don't think he's good enough at this point to mentor somebody. If you get him, are you saying that you're giving up on the season? Because this guy, he's not one now to lead a team. He's already shown that. Denver has been looking for a quarterback for how many years? And they can't seem to find a quarterback for their team. So, if they had Russell Wilson and he was the man, then, I think that they would have kept him. But I don't see him being a man. But Frank, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything at all. Their record, you could throw for 10,000 yards and still go 2-15. It doesn't matter. He didn't take his team to where they need to be.
No, I agree. Again, he would be a bridge guy. He may be one of those guys for 1 year. I don't think if I was saying to you, he's a guy I'll take you to the Super Bowl. No. Is he a guy where you're maybe 2 or 3 years away, your team is building, you get him in there, teach some of the other guys? Maybe. Again, I think he's a cancer. I wouldn't bring him in, to be honest with you. I would never do it. But there might be a spot. Now, again, I'm also not giving him a 3-4 year deal. I'd be lucky if I gave him a 1 with an option for 2. But I would not, to me, Russell Wilson will bounce around the league for wherever he is and be 1 year at a time. I don't think anybody's giving him a full-time job for more than that, Jeff.
I hear you. I don't think that. Well, what has he done to deserve a long term?
Nothing. Nothing. No, absolutely nothing.
He's declined. His play has declined, probably due to his age. So you can't expect him to come in now and all of a sudden throw 40 touchdowns a year and all of these yardage and lead a team. He didn't do it. You're right. He's had problems in Seattle.
Yeah.
He had some problems now in Denver. But I think most of the problems in Denver was because the team wasn't winning and they had too much salary. I listen, Frank's a Denver Bronco fan. That's great. I think they're insane for saddling themselves with the cap hit that they did. How are they going to be any bit competitive?
No, I agree. I think it's mismanagement. They listen, they went all in. They thought that Russell Wilson was the last piece of the puzzle, that maybe, where he was playing was the problem and not him. But to me, you got what you got. I agree with Frankie. He's going to get a 1-year minimum deal someplace, and he'll play football another year. But it's going to be one of those things where he bounces around. What this does to Russell Wilson and his legacy, I don't know. But he'll wind up on somebody's roster. I wonder if he would take a contract to go win a spot, or would he want to be guaranteed a spot? Like, if you called him up and said, hey, we're going to bring you on and you're going to battle Kenny Pickett, or does he want, hey, I'm coming in, but I'm the starter. I'm not fighting for a job. Where I think he could do that in, like, maybe Washington, maybe Atlanta. I think the Steelers would want him to fight for a job in Pittsburgh.
Well, you know what? Here's another thing, too, that's going to be a problem for Russell Wilson. From what I read, too, is that there's no slam dunk that people want to go after Justin Fields, that there's now questions developing for Justin Fields. So let's see what happens there with him. So that's more competition for him. So it's not like somebody's waiting for Justin Fields to come.
I listen, I'm with you. I think there's a lot of spots that have some issues, and that's a good one too. But listen, I think Russell Wilson, I always, and it's documented, I always thought he was overrated. I thought Russell Wilson was a good complementary player. I never thought he was a great player. Never seemed to come up big in big spots. So I am not surprised at the fall of Russell Wilson, because I thought he was a part of a good system with a guy who was a jerk, but a great running back, a great defense, and he just had to make a couple of plays here and there. So I think it was a system situation for Russell Wilson, but he turned into a jerk. He's a guy who wanted a private office, private this. He wanted, travel on his own. When you alienate your teammates, it's never a good thing, especially when you're a mediocre player. And he really was. For most of his career, Russell Wilson's been a mediocre player.
Well, listen, he might have been a mediocre player, but he played on some good teams.
Absolutely.
All 2 years in a row, Seattle had a lot of success while he was there.
Absolutely.
He put up some great numbers and everything. But, listen, there's a lot of good quarterbacks out there that have the same amount of Super Bowl trophies he has won.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good quarterbacks out there that don't have any. So, it depends on how you look at him. Did I like the guy? Whatever. I mean, I wasn't a Seattle fan because I just wasn't a Seattle fan, and nor was I a Denver Bronco fan. But there's worse quarterbacks out there than him.
I would agree with you. But again, it's not only just quarterback play; it's personality, it's being a teammate, and of course, it's salary. And again, listen, Hard Rock and Sports, Jeff and Tom talking football right now. I don't think he'll wind up a spot, but Frankie, you brought up a good point. You guys are over. You had a really horrible cap situation, and it's going to be interesting to see what you guys have to do to get better. Another one, Jeff, is a big surprise. The Buffalo Bills cutting 6 players. A couple of big, a lot of starters. They redid Von Miller's contract. I was talking on. We have a chat, you and I, with Frankie and Frank Jeffrey and Matt Salitri. I think this is their, hey, before we kind of run the gamut of Josh Allen's career, we need to kind of revamp and get and kind of change this over. And I think that's what they're doing, because they've gone stale, the Buffalo Bills, Jeff.
Well, listen, have they gone stale? This is a team that's been in the playoffs and gone deep in the playoffs every year for the last 4 or 5 years, right, side by side with the Chiefs.
Yep. But not getting there.
No, not getting there. No, but there's a lot of teams that don't get there that play good. I don't know if they're making the right decision, but being that they play in the same division as the Jets, here's hoping that they don't go very far with it. And Frank, to answer your question, my dog is up here being a pain in the balls because she's afraid of the cat.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to control the dog. The dog won't stay still and is being a pain in the balls. I hold her. She wants to go down. She's down. I don't know what the fuck she wants. I want the animals to be in their own room and leave me the fuck alone for 2 hours on Thursday night. That's what I want.
7:52, Tom and Jeff here hanging out. Guys, thanks for turning on Thursday night. The weather's getting warmer, so everybody's getting outside. But just remember, Thursday nights is Hard Rock and Sports Night, so come on back and hang with us on a Thursday night. There'll be lots of stuff to talk about. Coming up on 10 years. That's right. This show kicked off July 26th, 2014. Me staring at a wall for an hour and a half, talking as best I could. Jeff, a part of the show for all but the first 3 or 4. And you guys with us each and every week. We do appreciate it. Hopefully there'll be a live or a big show around it, whether we do it here on the air or we do it someplace live somewhere. We'll figure something out in the near future. Of course, a lot of other things coming up. We got the big NFL draft show coming up in April and all the other good stuff we do year round. So stick around. We got another hour of show to do. We talked a little football, Jeff. I want to talk a little music right now, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. I'm interested in this documentary or whatever it is that you know.
Yes, and there was 2 parts to this. So the first was the announcement of the documentary, and it was an interesting one because while it's a huge band, the hint I'll give you is most people will know this band because of their second singer, not the original singer, the second singer. They've had huge hits, and most people wouldn't even probably know the original singer. Now, guys like yourself, myself, Frankie, Adam Hines, Joey Cloak, we will know the guy, obviously, because we're big fans of hard rock and metal. But a lot of people wouldn't even know there was another singer before Brian Johnson. And Frankie, good guess. So I read it today that they're going to be doing
the answer away.
Yeah, they were going to be doing a documentary movie on Bon Scott. And I thought it was an interesting one because I'm saying to myself, while I think Bon Scott's a great singer, while I love AC/DC, what makes Bon Scott interesting enough to have a movie about him? And, in the announcement, it really doesn't tell you other than, he was the lead singer of AC/DC. He was charismatic and a great singer. But, Jeff, is there enough in there where if let's say right now, forget about the movie theaters. We know you're not going to the movies, but maybe some random Saturday night your wife will flip on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Would you go diving looking for the Bon Scott movie? And what would bring you to that?
If I saw it, I may want to check it out. But believe it or not, I don't watch that much TV as it is. So to be with the wife in front of the TV watching Netflix is not likely to happen. But I may be interested in it. Let me see what happens. It's definitely a more of a story than I would have wanted to see, like the Motley Crue movie or something stupid like that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't mind seeing what happened. But what's even more interesting to me about it is Bon Scott died in late 79, early 1980.
Yep.
And the AC/DC put out Back in Black, a complete album with a new singer. So they went through the process of finding a singer, writing an album, recording an album, which was completely different than anything they did with Bon Scott, and became successful off of that album, although they were already known.
Yeah.
The stuff that they did with Bon Scott, but it's like they completely changed the dynamic of the band with just a singer. And that is more interesting to me than anything else that, like that time period from when Bon Scott died to when Back in Black came out. That's what I would want to hear about.
Frankie, it's a biopic. It's a movie about Bon Scott. Yeah, I mean, I'll try to find the blabbermouth announcement of it. But, the bottom line is for me, while I think AC/DC is a big story, and a lot of people know the Back in Black album and the songs from it, but to me, I don't know if Bon Scott's big enough to early life of late singer Bon Scott. Let's see, it's on the blabbermouth. Is subject of upcoming movies. So it's the early life of Bon Scott, which is really kind of crazy to me. It's not. I don't know if it's even going to get into the part where he joins AC/DC. And yeah, Frank, they are doing one. Again, I like the biopics better than the biographies for the most part. So I'll watch it, but to me, I don't know if there's enough there to capture my interest in a Bon Scott movie about Bon Scott. I mean, my first, and Jeff, I don't know about you, but my first thoughts of AC/DC was the Back in Black album. And then, like a lot of other albums, I went backwards and I discovered the Bon Scott era.
Yeah, of course.
Because everything else before that was Bon Scott, the TNT and Dirty Deeds and all that stuff. I love all that stuff. And it all sounds a lot similar in the vocal end. Okay. I mean, there's obviously a difference, but it does sound similar. You know, it's two different eras of AC/DC. The early stuff and the Back in Black stuff are two different things. But for me, I don't know if there's enough that's going to capture my attention. You know, if you told me it's an AC/DC movie, all right, maybe, you know, all right. But a Bon Scott movie, I'm not sure. I'm not interested in it, but I will watch it. I just don't know. Huh?
We will find out when it comes out. But I'd like to, Joey Cloak asked a question. I'd like to just, I don't think Dio could have outdone Ozzy because on every level, Ozzy had the upper hand in his career. I think what Dio did with Sabbath would make a different. It became a different band, but even in their solo careers, I think Ozzy had more success with his solo career than Dio did. And when Dio came back to Sabbath, they were out there playing as Heaven and Hell in Madison, not Madison Square Garden. They were playing big arenas, yeah. But I saw them at Radio City Music Hall. When Sabbath came around the last time, they were playing all the big arenas. So I think that Ozzy will always have the upper hand with Sabbath.
I agree. Here's the difference between, in my opinion, between Ozzy and Dio, and that is Ozzy had a better publicist. Ozzy had his name out there. Listen, Dio was a better singer. Dio was a better performer, but Ozzy had a better publicist. You know, you bite the head off a bat. You know, you snort a line of ants off the ground. All of that stuff made Ozzy huge, and then of course the Ozzy, you know, the family, what do they call it, reality show. You know, Ozzy became part of pop culture. So while I agree with Joe, there's no doubt in my mind that obviously Dio's the better singer, but Ozzy, you know, had the better career. If you put Sabbath's career, Jeff, and Dio's Sabbath career, and then Ozzy solo versus Dio solo, while I think Dio had some great stuff, there wasn't enough catalog, and his era with Sabbath is not the same. You know, Neon Nights, a lot of that stuff is great, but it's not the early Sabbath.
It's not. And Ozzy, I mean, listen, in all fairness, Dio ended up dying, what, 15 years ago almost?
10 years ago, something like that, yeah.
He died in 2010 or
something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But as far as his solo career, you know, most of the Dio stuff I wasn't a big fan of it. And I can only name 2 albums anyway, Holy Diver, and then the other one, the second album. I mean, there was Sacred Heart, but after that, you know, his band, it was a revolving door of players. So is Ozzy's.
Yeah, so is Ozzy's.
But Ozzy seems to grab a guitar player. You might not be able to name all the bass players he had, but you know all the guitar players that he had. And listen, Ozzy is Ozzy.
No doubt. Listen, there's no doubt that you're 100% right. And Joe Cloak, Frankie Catalano said, asked if you have him blocked. He's looking to, I guess, merge with you, and he seemed to have him blocked. So reach out to Frankie if you don't mind.
Say merge?
Yeah, I said merge, Jeff. I use merge.
Merge.
Listen, Ryan James, maybe man merge. You know, Dio had Rainbow Time. He had Sabbath Time. He had Heaven and Hell. He had Dio. Ronnie James Dio had a really, really good career, but it was never Ozzy's career. He was never the heights with Sabbath that Ozzy was. His solo career never reached the heights that Ozzy did. Whatever reason, nothing wrong with listen, Ryan James Dio had a great career. As far as I'm concerned, he's a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, even though he's not in it. But he didn't have the publicity department, and he didn't have a screw loose like Ozzy did.
Well, listen, Ronnie James Dio was somewhat normal. He's not going to get the attention that that some of the stuff that Ozzy did is just going to get him more attention. Ozzy, without Ozzy, there is no Ronnie James Dio. So let's keep that in mind.
No, listen, 100%. Like I said, Dio is a great singer. To me,
Dio had a lot of great guitar players in his
sure.
Like just starting off with Richie Blackmore and Rainbow.
Yeah, sure.
That's big too. Let's not discount that.
No, listen. He obviously played with Tony Iommi as well. Listen, a great singer has nothing there's no downside to his career. He just didn't have the marketing publicist, engine that Ozzy did. Listen, Ozzy in the 80s was huge. If there was a social media, Ozzy would have been even bigger. Think about, back in 1980 something, Ozzy bit the head off a bat. Whether it actually happened, anybody saw it, it was everywhere, and there was no social media, Jeff. That's how big it was.
Yeah, of course.
The whole the bird, everything that Ozzy did was just huge, and it was a machine. And again, nothing. I'll say it. You cannot compare their voices. Dio was a much better singer than Ozzy ever was. A better frontman than Ozzy ever was, ever. But Ozzy had the better career, and it's just simple marketing and publicity. And again, I love Dio. I don't know if I want to see a Dio biopic. The Bon Scott one, I don't understand. Jeff, I got to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of other people out there that I would rather see. Again, the Kiss one, I think Kiss needs a real documentary movie, a real biopic.
Keep going, Tom. I gotta go take a squirt.
I think I think even Ozzy deserves, a real biopic, not one of those, dark sides or a 30-minute biography. I think there's a lot of these bands that we grew up with. They did it for Motley Crue, and the Motley Crue movie was bad. Let's be honest with you. The Freddie Mercury, the Queen one was okay. It was good. It was done well. It's better than the Elton John one. So I would love to see some more of these guys getting there. I would love to be honest with you. I think more important would be an AC/DC one, where you get to kind of figure out the band and where they came from and how they got together. To me, that's fun. But an early life of Bon Scott, unless you're from Bon Scott's hometown, there's a lot of people who are probably AC/DC fans who don't even know Bon Scott existed. And if you listen to Brian Johnson and Back in Black, and then heard those other songs, Dirty Deeds and all that, there's enough similarity that you would go, oh yeah, Brian Johnson sounds good in that. A lot of people would not know that that's even a different singer. So it's an interesting one for me. I've got to be honest with you. Yeah, you know what, Adam, I agree. See, I think some of those things are important. Kiss tells a story. I mean, there's an iconic era of the 70s that if you were doing a biopic of 1970s, it would be an era you'd have to tell. There's a lot of things that you could skip over. Kiss in the 70s was iconic. It bled into, and what's probably ruined Kiss to a certain extent, because they became, instead of being this dark, dangerous thing, they became this, lunchbox, coloring book band, and people stopped taking them serious as a band. And listen, those first 5 or 6 Kiss albums were absolutely amazing, but they became this bubblegum, Saturday morning cartoon band, and it changed their perception for a long time. So I think a biography of that early days of Kiss, I think would be huge. I mean, their fans alone would rock the world on that. And guys like even Jeff, who I think are not huge Kiss fans, I think, you do a real biopic, I think you draw a lot of people for that one. So I think Kiss is a good one.
You would definitely draw a lot of people for it. But, here's the thing with Kiss. All right, they were successful at every level they went in, whatever it is they did.
Yeah.
Okay? the only band that I could compare them to would be Queen. Queen is a band that changed many times over in their career. And like everything you're saying about Kiss, they came out as a straight ahead rock and roll band. So they used the makeup as a shock rock value. Then they had some other stuff, different kinds of music that they did. And they were successful at every level. They changed their makeup. They put the makeup back on. They took it off, a whole bunch of different things. Is there anything they didn't do right other than what that one album that was a disco album? And even there, they had some success.
Well, I think Dynasty is an underrated album because there's a couple of really good tunes on that. I think where they failed was shortly after that with like The Elder. They tried to do the compilation album. I think there was a couple of bad ones there. I think Lick It Up's a terrible album. It took the makeup off. I think that's a terrible album. After that, it kind of goes downhill. I think if you did a Kiss biopic, obviously starts from the beginning where they're school teachers and driving cabs. And I think you end it right at the Dynasty tour where they were huge. And then you kind of end it there with maybe some blurbs about the ending and all that. After that, Kiss gets into the, who's in, who's out. You couldn't possibly tell the whole story the right way if you did a 2-hour movie, even a 3-hour movie. To me, you got to go from the beginning to their heyday where it just rockets off, and I think that's where you end it. That's what's a good album, Frankie? Elder or Lick It Up? Yeah, I don't know, Frankie. I can't listen to that album. I try. I don't find it to be a good album. I think there's some stuff before that you kind of go. People kind of Creatures of the Night. I've said it here 100 times. I think Creatures of the Night is one of the best metal albums. Forget about Kiss albums. I just listened to it this weekend. That's a great album. That's just heavy and hard the whole way through.
When you have a certain perception of a band,
okay,
and when you think of Kiss and you think of some of the stuff they did in their early time, I'm trying to just get to their discs so that I could
discography.
Yeah, you got Dressed to Kill, Hotter Than Hell, Kiss. They put out 2 albums in 1974. By the time 1977 came, you had Love Gun, Rock and Roll Over. These were great albums. They really were good albums.
Yeah.
Destroyer with Detroit Rock City, and that's another year that they put out 2 albums. Alive, the first live album, was out in 1975. So they had a lot of their iconic music out before 1980. Yeah. And if you ask people to name some Kiss songs, they're probably going to name a majority of them off of the first couple of albums. Once these other albums came out, the albums Creatures of the Night, The Elder, all these other albums, there may be a song or two that people would say it was great. But what are you going to want to hear, Black Diamond or Lick It Up?
No, I couldn't agree more. And that's why I think the story needs to get told how it started. I think that whole is a revolution. I mean, by 76, 77, they were the biggest. I mean, they could have rivaled, the Beatles at that point. They were so big, and again, at an age, Jeff, before social media, where when you want to find out about Kiss, you had to really go dig in to find. You had to go to a store and try to buy a magazine. There were no computers. I mean, you've got your Kiss News because the guy, so you ran to a buddy who ran to a buddy who ran to a buddy. So I mean, maybe get something on the radio.
You're right, but a lot of bands cut their teeth the same exact way.
100%.
They went out there. They had a great. What was the thing that Kiss was famous for? Stage show.
Sure.
Stage show. Their makeup, the candles on stage, the spit in the blood, the fire, everything. Stage show. The costumes.
They did it better than everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they didn't. Yeah. But, that was what caught everybody's eye.
100%.
If Kiss came out, okay, no makeup on, no stage show. They just came out as 4 guys and came out on stage and played. Would they have ever lasted as long as they did?
No, 100%. And, and they probably wouldn't have lasted had they not went to the bubblegum route. Like, they were hardcore. The songs were great. The makeup was a little more intense. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of got bubblegum in there in the 76, 77, 78. And it changed. And of course, listen, they have Kiss cartoons and comic books and lunch boxes and everything else. And it grew them to this monster that all of a sudden the hardcore fan didn't love because you were watching these 78-year-old kids with their face painted showing up at a Kiss concert. So
but you know what?
Became a different atmosphere.
That's what happens when certain bands do certain things.
Yeah.
Kiss had the makeup on. Of course, they're going to catch a lot of people. They were everywhere. You said it just now. Lunchboxes, toys.
Yeah.
I remember, if I remember right, there was a model car, a Kissmobile or something.
Oh, of course, there was everything. Absolutely.
So you had all of these different things. Who are those things marketed to? Nobody realized 40, 50 years later that the Kiss lunchbox would be worth a mortgage payment or two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you get this stuff. It was this, but then again, because there was no social media and computers and everything else, this is how they got their word out.
Yeah.
So I remember my brother was the first person to buy a Kiss album.
Okay.
That I knew of. And the reason he bought a Kiss album was because we saw a commercial on TV of Kiss for the album, the live album. And my brother was like, I want that. So my mother and father went out and they bought it for him. And he must have been, I'm going to say, he's 4 years younger than me. So he might have been 6, 7, 8 years old at the oldest. At the oldest, 8 years old. And I think he was younger. I think he was more like 6 or 7. And he wanted the album.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he got.
Yeah, I did it. Listen, I said it.
That's how he listened to him. I don't know if he still listens to Kiss today.
I literally just listened this Sunday, sitting at this desk, doing some work, and I put on Creatures in the Night, and I do it so often. And listen, it caught me in 1975. I think it was 75. And I've been a Kiss fan since. But there was a point where Kiss had, I guess they felt they had to take the makeup off because they had become more of a joke and they needed to get away from it. And that's what Lick It Up was. And then they realized, all right, this don't work. We got to go back to that because that was the whole thing, was the image. And listen, 50 years later, they were putting an exclamation point on a career that most people would die to have. And
I just looked up. I'm sorry, Tom.
Sure.
Lick It Up came out in 1983.
Okay.
The earliest Kiss album that I could find was either Hotter Than Hell.
No, there's a Kiss album. The very first
album. Or the album Kiss. They both came out in 1974. Kiss had Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Cold Gin, 100,000 Years.
Yeah.
Hotter Than Hell had Got to Choose, Parasite, Hotter Than Hell. Some still good Kiss songs.
Absolutely.
But you don't realize that started in 1974. So they went almost 10 years with wearing the makeup and outfits.
Yeah.
Their choice of outfits, that was what bands were wearing in 1983.
Yeah, no, listen, they listen, the one thing you say about Kiss was they changed with the times. Disco got big, they came out with Dynasty. Metal got big, they came out with Creatures in the Night. The people got into the grunge and just kind of away from the leather stuff. Lick It Up came out. They made the moves that they had to stay up with the times, but the problem was the people who were core group got older and they got more bubblegum. I like to call it bubblegum. And it became all about kids. And you go back to the films of those days and you have these babies going to Kiss shows in Gene Simmons makeup. And that's not what Kiss was about. But listen, at the end of the day, they cashed the checks and it was great.
Well, look, in 1982,
yep,
right, you had Creatures in the Night.
Okay?
Yeah. That was out. And then that came out in October of 1982. I just saw October 13th, 1982.
Okay.
And you had Lick It Up, which came out September 23rd, 1983. So it wasn't even a year later that they removed the makeup. And the picture that I see right here of Gene Simmons, he definitely should have left the makeup on. Because that was rough looking, man.
He was trying to go Hollywood at that point. He was doing movies.
Yeah, but I mean, they were also doing movies with makeup on too.
Yeah, no, and bad movies. But getting back to listen, the bottom line is, Kiss. There are certain bands that need a biopic. Kiss would be one. We've said it on the show a few times. It's a band that was iconic. This isn't. a good band or even, a Sabbath. Is Sabbath a better band than Kiss? Probably yes. Absolutely.
Listen,
But
musician-wise, I would say yeah. Musical, like stage show and theatrics, you got to answer that one honestly. We went and seen Sabbath. I don't know, were they glued to the stage or nailed to the stage? Because they didn't move.
move.
Okay,
But that's the beauty of Sabbath.
Definitely a different age bracket, but listen, Kiss, they were moving around the stage a little bit more than Sabbath was.
Oh, listen, and it was all about the show. And listen, the music was great for Kiss. It wasn't. Listen, you're not going out there and you're not hearing "Hallowed Be Thy Name." You're not hearing "Electric Eye," but you're hearing solid, good rock and roll music played well. But the Kiss experience was what you were getting, and hats off to the band. They did a great job. They had a great career. I don't agree with everything they did, but again, a great career. Definitely worthy of a biopic in the future. Frankie says Netflix is doing it. I'll look forward to it. I just hope they cut it off. I would rather them spend more time on the early years and not get into the later years. I think it's a waste of time. Just get me to that point where they're just the biggest thing on the planet and then call it a day. But we'll see how it comes out. The Bon Scott one, Jeff, I'll watch it, but I'm not running for it. I try to think all the time, like, what's another one that I would go out and see? I watched the Motley Crue one. That sucked. I just don't know if there's another band biopic, not a biography, a biopic that I would run and say, I know they're coming out with, there's a docuseries coming out on Bon Jovi. I'm not running to see that one. So I'm not sure if there's another one out there that I would have to have. I would think that someday they'll do a Metallica one. I would think that's one that'll happen.
Who knows? Who knows? I could think of a couple that I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing a Judas Priest one.
Okay.
And in today's day and age, I'm surprised there isn't a Judas Priest one.
Because Halford?
Yeah, because of Rob Halford. A Maiden one would be interesting to see, but probably wouldn't sell very good outside of South America or fucking England.
Or Maiden fans in general.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like what Maiden fans in the United States are going to want to sit and watch after so many albums that they put out as of late.
Yeah, no. Again, I think there's a shelf life. Again, those bands are interesting in our world. Kiss is interesting because they transcended our world. That's why I think Kiss is interesting. Frankie, I'm glad to see that's what they're doing the early years. That's the way that you're right. I think Adam might go a little bit past the live years, but yes, that's the general thought for me. Is show me from the cab days to where they're on top of the world with doing everything from bad movies to comic books.
But let me ask you a question now.
Sure.
Okay. When they were doing the Queen movie, okay.
Yep.
And they changed so many things within the Queen movie so that they could, like move the story along, make the story more interesting. Yep. They basically lied to us.
Sure, a bunch of times.
And yes, a lot of times. And I'm not talking about, well, this guy had different color eyes than Freddie Mercury.
No. Yeah.
Least, okay. Yep. With everything else, they lied. The timeline when he was sick, what happened, like Queen had only gone a couple months without performing, not years without performing before Live Aid.
Correct.
Why are you changing? Those are outright lies. They're not, that doesn't make it a documentary to me. I understand it wasn't a documentary, it was a movie, but a band like Queen is kind of iconic. I could see changing around maybe the Sex Pistols or the Ramones or Def Leppard or something, but not a band like Queen. They're just too documented. Wouldn't you be afraid that if they were to do a Kiss one, or they're going to do a Kiss one, they do a Maiden or Priest one, that they're going to change some of the facts to make it more interesting? What is that? I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, again, if you have to change it to make it interesting, then don't make the movie. I did not like the Queen one. We've talked about it at length. Yeah, and that would be a good one. I think the Ramones are a big story. I would agree with that. I would think that's another one, Frankie. I think is a good one because of all the different personalities in the band. But the Queen one bothered me.
This right here, right? My wife got me last year. This is Dee Dee Ramone's book, Lobotomy. Okay. I'm not a big reader. This was a great book. It was interesting, and you have no idea what these people are like, man. These were the kind of guys that pissed themselves on Monday night after going out and didn't change their pants till Sunday night. You know what I mean? While it would be an interesting story, this would be, I feel, a limited audience.
Okay.
I would be one of those limited audiences, but I don't know if you're going to get the same numbers to justify making a Ramones movie. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying I just think, in my opinion, that would be an interesting movie.
Oh, definitely interesting, without a doubt.
But the problem I had with the Queen one was, you can combine things. Like, you can make one person kind of there was a guy in the Queen movie, I can't think of the name, but he was a compilation of a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different people, and they brought him in to make one central figure, so they have to do a bunch of different people. I get that. But when you tell me that Freddie Mercury knew before Live Aid that he was dying of AIDS, I got a big problem with that. Like, to me, you don't have to introduce that at that point. That's the stuff that bothers me in movies like that. Like, I'll pick that apart because to me, there's no reason for that. I get you want to get it in, but
you knew the actual timeline. You knew,
exactly,
that you could have watched. What they could have done, what they should have done, is just they should have ended that movie at Live Aid.
Absolutely, 100%.
They should have ended it at Live Aid. Yep. There was talk after a while of them making a second one. You could have ended it at Live Aid, and you could have said, this is a long story to be continued.
Yeah.
So the second one is coming. You could have picked up there was more stuff about Queen and how he got sick, the process of him dying, how they did the benefit concert, or memorial concert, whatever you want to call it, for him. And there's a lot of other things that they could have done and have had him in there and told the true story the right way.
100%. There was no reason to. It wasn't a Freddie Mercury biopic. It was a Queen biopic. So you're only telling the story of the band and getting to that point. And you're right. I would have ended it with him on and what basically to me is one of the greatest performances of all time is his performance and the band's performance at Live Aid. But you turned it into a Freddie Mercury biopic, and then you changed the timelines of things to make it fit. And that's my problem with it. To your point, you could have easily said to be continued, and people would know it's a real story. This isn't, you weren't ending a movie like I was looking up Spinal Tap. You didn't end Spinal Tap in the middle of something and then give it an ending. We all know the ending. If you're a Queen fan, you know the ending.
But you can't. Well, I understand you can't compare Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap, out of all of these bands, would have to be in the Spinal Tap biopic.
Yeah.
Queen, Kiss, the Ramones, they'd all have to be there to pay homage to maybe the greatest band of all time.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
And you can't change anything.
No.
How influential they actually were.
Yeah. And there's still talk of the movie being out. They started filming, or will be filming, and there's some talk of the script and what the movie's going to be about. 2025 will be I will be leading a caravan to watch that movie. We will get everybody together to get to one place. So if we're still around doing this show or not, I will be getting as many people as possible to go to a Spinal Tap premiere show someplace, because that is something that we will all watch together.
And what we should do is we should all bang out of work that day.
Oh, absolutely. If there's a matinee anywhere in this area, everybody needs to cut out of work for the day and meet there, because that's how I saw it the first time, with that guy sitting across from me right now. So keep that in mind for 2025. But again, Hard Rock and Sports, Jeff and Tom. Again, listen, guys, let me know. Is anybody out there you want to see a biopic of in the music world? I think Jeff hit a good point. I think the Ramones are a good one. I don't know how widespread that would be. People like Tom Jones, those are interesting people.
Read what Adam just wrote, man. Dude, that's some funny shit, bro.
There he is, Anthony Carey popping in. What's up, Anthony, brother? What's up, my brother? But yeah, so listen, I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times. Spinal Tap is the greatest rock and roll movie of all time. It adorns the walls of my room here. It is a part of my childhood that I'll always remember, and I look forward to the sequel. I don't think it could be. It can't possibly be better than the first because the first is so iconic. If you think about some of the things, I've listened to like Fox football games, and they'll talk about going to 11. It's an iconic movie that's written for our generation. That would be us. So
miss you too, Anthony, man.
Absolutely, my brother. Hopefully you get in this area one of these days and we'll get to hang out with you, my man.
I would love to see Anthony come back. I'd love to see Anthony come back and Red Rum come back and do a one-off. That'd be pretty cool.
There you go. Oh, absolutely. To me, if you played music or were a fan of hard rock and metal in the late 70s through today and you haven't seen Spinal Tap, you need to hand back in your man card and move on and start wearing, rainbow colored clothing, because there's no way in the world that if you love hard rock and metal and you haven't seen Spinal Tap, that is the end of it all.
No, but you know what? Right now, it's been used and overused by the wrong people. Things like This Goes to 11 and
hello Cleveland. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it lost some of its luster on people that shouldn't have had the opportunity to use it anyway.
Sure,
so to speak. You know what I mean? There was some great iconic parts of that movie. When my favorite part of that movie is when Nigel goes talk to David
at the end.
At the end, yeah.
And it's probably the least funny part of the movie.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Nigel turns around and says to David, "Have a good show." He swallows it.
Yes.
Swallows it, and he says, he's just trying to get his friend back to me at that point in time. And then David knows it.
Yep.
And then he turns around and he's, goes out on stage and he realizes what the missing piece was.
Yeah, and here's the funny part. How did Nigel wind up with the backstage pass hang on the back of the stage? That's the question that nobody's ever answered.
Well,
nobody's ever answered the question for me, Jeff. How does
said,
Nigel even get backstage, and how does he wind up on stage right, hanging out, waiting to be called onto the stage? That's the key part.
He was a messenger sent by Ian.
That's very true. I would say I'd have to really sit back and think what my favorite part of the movie was. It's so iconic. The part in the airport where with the cucumber in his pants. That's just iconic. Just think about the movie and to have that at that point, like, just amazing. There's Artie Puffkin. I
built what you asked me. Yeah, but it's not your job to be as confused as Nigel.
Yeah, but you know what? The crazy part of that whole thing is the music. Yes.
Yes.
But the music itself is great. I still listen to that album as an album. I think that music is really good. The fuck? Oh my God! Trying to get it. What the?
Big Bottom.
Oh yeah,
may be the most Spinal Tap song.
Stonehenge to me is one of the great songs of all time. It's just the album itself is great music, and the movie is just it's just hysterical. It's the best rock and roll movie of all time, and it's in my top 5, possibly maybe top 10, but certainly in my top 10 movies of all time. I'm looking forward to the sequel. Can it be better than the original? Probably not. But it'll definitely bring some people together, and it'll give us a lot to talk about.
You say Stonehenge.
Oh,
when
could you ever see 2 midgets today dancing around an 18-inch piece of styrofoam and getting away with it? No, it's not possible.
Just the thought of Nigel playing and narrating that part with David St. Hubbins looking up with his mouth hanging open at a Stonehenge that was probably about this big.
But think about like the salami on the bread, just that whole scene. Think about, can you hear it? No, don't touch it. Don't touch
you
it.
would if it was plugged in.
Yeah, you would if you was plugged in. some of the most iconic movie scenes of all time. It's a masterpiece, and to think most of it's ad-libbed, it's just amazing. And if you ever get a chance to watch the part with the one with the there's one out, a version of it out with the bonus scenes where you get to see St. Hubbain's son, and stuff like that. It's absolutely worth watching. But we'll get to see the sequel hopefully in about a year.
This is Cindy's first mustache.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Cindy looked like she was about 15.
Yes. So, and such a great movie and iconic for that. And again, I get the musicianship. These guys weren't metal, hard rock and metal players, but the music for that album was great. It was a fun album to listen to. I still do it to this day, and a great movie and a classic that can never be duplicated. It summed up an entire era of music at that point, and we'll see what part 2 brings us. Most of the main characters are still around, so we'll see. We'll see what that brings us in a year. But Adam Hines, I get to watch it every once in a while. I have a DVR on my TV, so every once in a while I'll just clip it and go watch it. So I wish you guys would spend some time doing it too. And we always talk about it here on the show. It's a big part of our show and big part of what we do here, Hard Rock and Sports. That's Jeff. I'm Tom, and we're here every Thursday night, 7 to 9, talking sports, music, and anything else that pops into our brain. About a half hour from the loser in chief popping up on stage and falling asleep. It's past his bedtime, but we'll see what happens when he does. In the meantime, Jeff, we got some big news today in the sports world. You know what that is?
Oh, what?
Mike Tyson is going to be fighting again.
Oh, yeah, come on, man. That's
now again. Here's the thing. So, I was very disappointed the first time. The Roy Jones Jr. Mike Tyson fight was a sham. It was two guys barely throwing punches, made sure they didn't embarrass each other. Nobody got knocked down. It was the ultimate sham. They tried to build off that, and everybody was disappointed. I don't know that this one is going to be the same thing. It's Tyson and Jake Paul. Jake Paul had his second fight on that card. He knocked the shit out of Nate Robinson. I don't know if you remember that fight.
I remember vaguely, but
yeah, completely crushed him.
The guy is a YouTuber or something, right?
Yeah, he started as a YouTuber. He's turned into he was I think doing UFC stuff, and now he's fighting. I guess trying to fight legit.
Didn't he just do something at WrestleMania?
I'm not sure about that.
I think so.
Yeah. Now listen, I think Mike Tyson was the scariest man on the planet. I think that was a great publicist. A great publicist. He was the best fighter I ever watched. I mean, I got to see Ali at the end of his career and Frazier at the end of his career. I saw, Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns, great fighters. Mike Tyson was the best fighter I ever saw in his prime. There's no 19-year-old Mike through 20-something-year-old Mike was the best fighter I ever saw. And his fights were probably the last ones that were must-watch by everybody, not just boxing fans. Like boxing fans watch boxing regardless. But if you were people were having parties at their house at 11:30 at night watching Mike Tyson fights because it was Mike Tyson.
All right, Frank. I first, thank you, Frank, for clearing that up. And
Okay.
second of all, you're right. That was the case. He might have been the last heavyweight that anybody was interested in watching fight.
Maybe the last fighter that anybody was interested in watching fight.
I could name a boxer now.
Again, I could throw a few names out at you, but I haven't watched any of these guys fight, nor do I want to. But Mike Tyson fights were an absolute, you got to watch somehow. And you watch the whole card. I remember, I can tell you half a dozen times or better that guys got together. There were 20 guys or 20 people in a room at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, watching a Mike Tyson fight. It was must-watch TV. Even if you weren't a boxing fan, you wanted to watch Mike Tyson fight. And I think it's sad to a certain extent that he's out there doing this now. Now, he may go out there and represent himself well, and maybe he'll win or lose. I'm not really sure. But Mike Tyson's last fights were, I think, in 2006, and his last two fights had to be stopped. I mean, he couldn't even finish the fights. So what am I really expecting now from him? I don't know what to expect on this, and I'll be disappointed, Jeff, if this turns into another sham like the Roy Jones Jr. fight.
Well, listen, he's fighting an opponent that's probably half his age. Relax.
Yeah, 30 years younger. Tyson's 57. This kid's 27.
But like Adam said, it's like somebody having retard strength. I'm just not. You can't discount them out.
No, definitely not. But here's the thing: if you go out there and they fight a real fight, and Tyson loses, that's okay. He's 57 years old. He hasn't fought for real in almost 20 years. I'm okay with it. But if you go out there and you dance around, and we see, you didn't watch the Roy Jones Jr. fight, right?
No, I saw clips of it.
Yeah, it was whatever you saw was the best parts, because it was them. Every once in a while they would throw a flurry of punches. Every once in a while they throw somebody block or miss. It was basically ballroom dancing with boxing gloves on. If this is that, I got no interest, and I would scream and yell on this show after watching it. If they go out there and they fight and they box and Mike Tyson gets beat or he's not good, I can live with it. I want to just show me boxing. Don't give me, this fake, let me carry Mike Tyson for 7 rounds and and we draw the biggest personal in modern history. That's what I'm hoping it's not. If he goes out and just gets beat up by a younger guy, Jeff, it is what it is.
Well, listen, there's a lot of things that could happen. Okay. He could end up getting knocked out in the first round because he just can't compete with the other guy who's
exactly.
But I don't care about the other guy, Paul, whatever the fuck, not Jake Paul, whatever the fuck his name is.
It's Jake. It's not Jake Paul. It's I don't know. Yeah, it's one of the Pauls.
Whatever. Okay, if Mike Tyson, if it's a real fight and he connects with a real punch, I don't care how big this guy thinks he is, man. Come on, man. It's Mike Tyson. He's going to know how to throw a punch. He's going to know how to avoid a punch, too.
Again, if he goes out there and fights, win or lose, I'm okay with it. I think it's an interesting thing. Go for it, Ron Paul. But if he goes out there and he fakes his way through it and they hug each other and this and that, then I got no respect for any of them, and I'll never watch another thing again. Now, this is on Netflix. I'm assuming if you have Netflix, it's for free. I'll watch it. I'll stay up and watch Mike Tyson fight and see what it's all about. I just hope it's not, again, ballroom dancing. If it's fake and they're just dancing around to bring in a big purse, man, I'll be on the show the Thursday after screaming and yelling. If they go out there and Tyson just gets his hands handed to him, hey, he's 57 years old, hasn't fought in 20 years. I'm okay with him getting beat up.
Yeah, I agree. But I honestly, when he fought Roy Jones, I remember they were trying to do this comeback thing for fighters. Yeah. I guess it didn't go very far unless this is the second.
No. They dropped out. You're right. They did try to do this like retired boxing league where they were trying to talk about all these guys, but I don't think there was enough. First off, most of those guys, their brains are scrambled. Nobody wants to see these guys fight anymore. So I don't think there was enough of the demand, and I don't think the money was there to get these guys to come back out and beat the crap at each other. And nobody wanted to see what we saw that night. To be honest with you, what I watched on that night was frustrating, and it was almost, we might as well watching WWF. It just was two guys not looking to hurt each other, give a little something so the fans had thought it was a real fight, and it wasn't. So, again, go out there, beat the crap at each other, win or lose. Look good, don't look good. I'm okay with that. Give it a good effort in a real fight. I'm all in. If they go out there and they fake this thing through, I'm going to be pissed off.
I hear you.
So we'll see what happens. It's coming in July. They're doing it, I think, in an outdoor stadium. I think it's at the Cowboy Stadium.
Yes.
So your opinion? I think that place must sell 80,000 football. So add another few thousand. Let's say 85,000. Sold out.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be sold out, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's just a matter of what people want to pay for these tickets for this fight.
Yeah,
I'm looking at pictures of this kid now. He looks like an angry Aaron Carter.
Yes.
He's going to get his fucking head handed to him. You got to be kidding.
Again, he's 27 years old. So, I've seen the training videos of Mike Tyson. The guy's a monster still. I watched him throw a series of punches in jeans and a t-shirt. It was like, holy cow! His hands were like was lightning. It was just like, you're like, holy cow! If you get hit with one of those, you'd be dead.
Yeah, but here's the difference. 30 years ago, 35 years ago, Mike Tyson would be able to throw that like that all night long.
Oh,
now
absolutely.
he may be able to throw them 35 seconds, and he's going to need some oxygen. So it is the difference.
Yeah, I'm with you. So it's interesting. I don't know if it's sad, though. Is it sad? Is this a sad commentary on the fact there's a guy who was one of the greatest champions, in my opinion, one of the greatest champions of all time? Again, best pound for pound fighter I ever watched. Is it sad that he at 57, probably to I think it's I don't know if it was Joey. I think Joey said it. Basically is trying to jumpstart his net worth. Is this a sad thing, Jeff, or is it an opportunity to provide Mike Tyson with some more spotlight to kind of put the exclamation point on his career?
Listen, I don't think it's geared to be a moneymaker for Tyson, because I think if Mike Tyson wants to make money, all he's got to do is say, I want to do something, and he's going to get somebody to give him money to do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's be on a TV show, be in a music video, whatever, be a commentator for boxing, whatever it is. I think it's going to be nothing more than what it is, which is an exhibition fight. Get people maybe to get behind this kid, Jake Paul. So like maybe they're going to push him as a fighter. Who knows? I don't think it's to. Mike Tyson is going to be a money-making machine regardless, because he's Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
It's like, when does he need money? He just goes out and does something, but he's always going to have some kind of income coming in one way or another. I refuse to believe that he's not making any money. That's one thing. He has to be. And then as far as this, is it something to revive people's interest in boxing again? I don't know, because what heavyweight challenger would you even put in front of Tyson at this point in time? Who's a big name, a name that's big enough to stand in front of him at this point in time? This kid, he looks like an angry Aaron Carter, yeah, but he looks like that kid from Jackass that wiped himself out in the car. I can't remember his fucking name off the top of my head. He got killed. Ryan Dunn. Put up a picture of Ryan Dunn versus a picture of Jake Paul. They look very similar. So it's almost like, other than Johnny Knoxville, who else you going to get to go in the ring with Mike Tyson?
Yeah, you said it. You said it pretty good there, Jeff. I agree. I just hope that it's legit. If you go out there at 57, give it all you got for a couple of rounds, and you got nothing left, there's no shame in it.
A 3-round exhibition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This year way, you're not pushing him too much, but 3-round exhibition, all out.
Right. The problem I have is this is probably a one and done, and to relight up boxing, you would need somebody to follow along. I mean, listen, boxing was dying when Tyson jumped in. You had the end of the great heavyweight era. Yes, the middleweights were big at that point, but they were, pay-per-view events, and people knew the names, but nobody was flying to watch those things. Mike Tyson made boxing sexy, and there is, as far as I can see, there is nobody right now that makes boxing sexy. So you almost have to hope that Tyson would fight 3 or 4 more fights to even have a chance.
There's no name, and even if he does fight 3 or 4 more fights, he's going to be too old. There's no way that he's going to be able to last 3 or 4 fights. You say that when Tyson came in, it was the end of the great heavyweight, but yes, but no, because then you had George Foreman, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis. You had a lot of other big names. Name one heavyweight boxer other than Tyson Fury or the guy that he was fighting.
Oh, no, I got nobody.
Neither do I. And at one time, it was all about the heavyweights.
Of course, it was the Premier League, the division.
So now there's none of that no more.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm just saying is if Tyson had the ability to do 5 or 7 fights over the next 3 years, it would reinvigorate it a little bit to the point. But again, you're right. Who is he? is Mike Tyson going to fight Tyson Fury or whatever the other guy is that fights out there? I don't think so. So what's the sense you're going to fight? He's going to fight a bunch of kind of newer up-and-comers who probably are in a weight class a little above their skill level. Guys who are more light heavyweights. So
I got somebody for him to go up against.
Go ahead. Oh boy.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Tommy Florio.
For the money, I do it, Jeff. I'd step in there for that kind of money, but
Tom,
it wouldn't last long.
I'd insist on being in your corner. I'll have a nice fluffy white towel. I will fight and argue that the ring floor must be black. But when I throw in the towel, they will see it.
Make sure the ring floor is red, so when my blood spills, nobody will notice that I'm bleeding out on the floor there.
I just want them to know when I throw the towel in that they see it.
Yeah,
I don't want there to be any like, oh, what is that? Did somebody spit in the ring? Be like, the fucking towel.
Jeff, the fight didn't start yet. Doesn't matter. Stop the fight. On Rocket Sports. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. It'd be nice to cash the check, but I'm not sure. Exactly, Adam. Oh, Hard Rocket Sports. We're winding down to the end of our show tonight. It's been great, a lot of fun. I got one more. I got a couple of fault. Let me give you the Aaron Rodgers one real quick. I was listening today. It seems like Aaron Rodgers has basically committed to doing 3 or 4 more years with the Jets. But some people think, Jeff, that it's kind of a ploy to say, hey, don't draft a quarterback now. Get me some players so that way I can be successful. Kind of what he tried to do with Green Bay, which got him on the outs, which got him eventually, gone. If you're the Jets, how does that statement from Aaron Rodgers of I could play 3 or 4 more years change what you want to do right now, or does it?
Well, yes.
Adam had a great night, Adam.
Thank you for being here tonight, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will tell you this much, and I'm glad you brought this up because I always wanted to say it, and then I either forgot about it or never got the chance to say it. So here we go now, okay? First of all, any NFL team, okay? Now, not always a first-round quarterback is the way to go. We've seen that. But more often than not, it's the first-round quarterback that ends up sticking with his team and has a pretty decent career, okay? Now, the Jets this year are going, who knows what they're going to do in free agency, who knows what they're going to do as far as the draft goes. But a lot of people want to see the Jets draft a quarterback in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round.
Correct.
Why? It's a waste of a fucking draft pick to me. Okay? I don't see the reason to get a experimental quarterback, a project quarterback, whatever you want to call them. I don't care what you want to call them. I do not see the point of having a quarterback drafted anywhere past the 2nd round that you hope to be a viable piece of your team. It's a waste of a draft pick. You might as well take draft picks 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and try to trade them to somebody else for a 2nd rounder and get a second round pick or something, depending on the team. I know the Jets don't have a 2nd round pick this year.
Yeah.
So I would turn and tell the quarterback there, Aaron Rodgers, listen, when we want to draft somebody, we'll draft them when we want to draft them. We run the team. Second of all, if you get mad, that's okay. You're 40-something years old. You can get mad, and you could leave. That's fine, because we need to think about the future, because we can't keep you happy while you're here. We could do our best to try to get the players that you need to be successful, because then we're successful. But I wouldn't want to see them draft a quarterback too far deep into the draft anyway. I think it's stupid. Look, the Giants, they had an undrafted quarterback with Tommy DeVito last year, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so he came on, he played a few games. He actually did rather well for the time he was in there.
Sure.
But he ain't ever stepping on the field again. Not anytime soon. They're not even mentioning his name at this point in time. So he did not have him in the plans to take the next step up anyway. And some of these things that happen with these teams, and the picks that they make, I just don't see the point of it. But I would rather go after if you need offensive linemen, go out after offensive linemen all draft long, because you don't know, maybe one that blew out a knee 2 years ago slipped. He would have been a first rounder, but he didn't play last year because of his knee. Go after a guy like that in the second or third round instead of a quarterback. It's a wasted pick, I feel.
Yeah, again, listen, it's an interesting theory. If I were the Jets, I would look to bring in, whether it's in the draft or free agency or whatever, their future quarterback at some point, because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to play. Now, again, that is only if you find the guy in the draft, Jeff, that you think is the guy. That doesn't mean you draft somebody just to draft somebody. But if you're in the second round or third round and you got a guy that you think is viable, not just anybody or just a seat filler, but a legit NFL quarterback, then you got to pull. To me, you got to pull the trigger. But if I'm the Jets, though, you do need to start thinking about life after Aaron Rodgers.
I agree,
because he isn't going to be here forever, and it would be good to have his replacement on your roster a year or two from now.
Next year or the year after.
I'm not disagreeing.
If I was Joe Douglas, you know what I do this year? As soon as free agency starts, I go to Gardner Minshew.
Okay.
And I talk to Gardner Minshew. Wherever he's played, he's turned around and he's had success. Maybe not playoff wins and everything else. He's a viable quarterback. He could keep your team in the thick of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
I feel so. I would see what he would want and try to get him on your team so you have a viable backup. But listen, to think that you're going to find somebody in the second or third round, that means that this guy could have gotten passed on. Say you got somebody in the fourth round and you have the first pick in the fourth round. That means he was passed on 96 times, including 3 times by you. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. No, I got you.
If he had any kind of a career that was going to be great, don't you think that one of the other 32 teams would have said, man, this guy's still here, we got to grab him. He's still here, we got to grab him.
Yeah, no,
I can pick number 97, he's still there. Come on.
I think it's a good theory by you. I do. And I think Gardner Minshew is that guy. I think he's a guy that you could bring him in, he can hang around, and then he can jump out there and play for you for a season or a part of a season. And you could be competitive with a guy like that. You're not winning a Super Bowl with him, but you could stay competitive with him. And he's a guy who could fill the seat until you find your guy. But I think at some point over the next 2 years, the Jets need to find their future guy.
They do. And Joe Cloak, you ask about Drake May. Listen, Sam Darnold, remember sucked for Sam? I remember it.
Yeah.
He sucked, all right. And now he may be on his 4th team. And his career, what is he in the league, 6 years? So, you don't know what's going to happen with these guys until they play. Would I take Drake May in the first round this year? No, because the Jets think, and a lot of people say that they actually stand a chance to make the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, you never know what can happen. I would rather boister the team that we have now.
Yes.
Than to worry about tomorrow and try to get Drake May.
If you're the Jets, you can't draft a quarterback in the first round if you want to be competitive this year. You need to give him either another receiver or, more importantly, probably an offensive lineman.
It depends on what happens in free agency. They need to go after offensive linemen. Now they're being connected. I see them connected to the fucking tight end from Georgia.
Yes.
Brooks. But whatever fucking his name is, whatever, you got to be kidding me. And Frank, why Sam Darnold, bro? Why? He's
infatuated. That's all I see him saying.
He can be. I just don't understand it.
I think it's interesting, but I think if the trap the Jets could fall in is putting the eggs in the Aaron Rodgers. Listen, we all saw it. I mean, Peyton Manning fell off the wagon 1 year. There are a bunch of other guys, same thing. Roethlisberger, Manning, Rivers, they all having great careers, and all of a sudden, it was like, it was like, was it
the wheels fell
Space
off.
Jam? It's like Space Jam. Somebody took away their talent, and it was just like there was like me playing football, in the NFL. And that's what can happen here with Aaron Rodgers. The guy hasn't played in almost 2 years. He's 40 years old. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I'm just saying the likelihood of Aaron Rodgers returning to Aaron Rodgers' best is unlikely. And to think that 2 years from now that is going to be the case is highly unlikely. Get somebody on the roster, but you can't do it in the first round. If you do it in the first round right now, you're basically selling out your soul for this year. You're basically saying we're not going to win, and we're shooting for the long term because
this is what they need to do. They need to get at least a one lineman, maybe two in free agency. They need to get a quarterback or a wide receiver in free agency.
Yeah.
Let's say that they get a guard, a tackle, and a backup quarterback in free agency. Okay. Then they need to go after another offensive lineman in the draft and another receiver. Okay. They're going to need a tight end also, I feel.
Yeah. They've needed one for years.
But I don't want to see them go after one in the first round.
Nope.
See who's available. And Joe Douglas, all the years of getting second-tier free agents, you don't have to bust the bank and give some guy 3 years, $190 million. That never works. But you're going to have to go get an A-level fucking couple A-level free agents.
Absolutely.
If you make this work.
If you're the Jets, you're looking offensive line or you're looking at one of the receivers. That's where you're looking at the first round. At the first,
yeah, but it depends. Tom, it also depends what receiver falls.
I agree, but that's the positions you're looking for because listen, you don't want to take a tight end that high in the draft. You just don't. If you're going to take a tight end, trade down and get him. If they don't need a running back, and you're not going to take a guard at that position. You're not taking a right tackle. Maybe you're taking a right tackle at that point, but you're taking an offensive lineman and you're taking a receiver. Or if I'm the Jets, I'm trading down.
They need an offensive lineman. They need offensive line help. I have no problem with them taking any offensive lineman that they think could make a difference. Okay, if the top-rated player at number 10 is a guard, and they need a guard, take him. If it's a tackle, you need him.
100%. Yep.
If this kid Tippmann isn't a center, take a center. Do what you got to do. But I agree with you. You have to don't be frugal in free agency. Don't spend that you break the bank. But be smart in free agency. Free agency should be plug and play players that you're going to get something out of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. Listen, I totally agree with you. I guess it's an interesting dilemma for the Jets because where they're picking, what their needs are. If there's a run on quarterbacks early, they're gonna have the choice of one of the top three receivers or one of the top three running linemen. So I think they're in a good position if you're going to draft there. If you're looking for the quarterback, I don't think it's going to get there. And again, I wouldn't do it anyway.
Here's something to consider too. Okay, I noticed it, Tom. It's
sure, no problem. Go ahead.
It's 9:00. Just okay. You have Allen Lazard, who did connect with Aaron Rodgers a few years ago. If you're not going to fucking use him and throw him the ball, then you need to turn around and get somebody in free agency or the draft. But also consider with those two, the chemistry those two had when they played together. Was it that not many receivers did good with fucking Zach Wilson last year? Or is Allen Lazard just that bad of a player?
Yeah, that's the question of the day. Did they take a free agent over who was past, who doesn't have anything left, or was it the fact that the quarterbacks didn't let him excel? I don't know the answer. Maybe we'll find out this year. I think it's the latter. I think Allen Lazard is a good player, not a really good player, but I think he's a good player who just fell into an offense that sucked. Let's just call it what it is. You had three quarterbacks, Boyle and Trevor Siemian and Wilson, who were just bad. So I think you won't know a lot about what they did last year until this year if Rodgers gets on the field and can be somewhat. Listen, if he's half of what he was in Green Bay, even a third of what he was in Green Bay, he's still better than the quarterbacks they had out last year, and they'll still win 10 games.
I think. Listen, I think that he's good enough for an extra 1 to 3 wins. I'm not going to go off and say that this is a team that's going to win 12 games. I don't know, but I think that they stand a chance of being a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. So it's going to be interesting, but I think it kind of puts a little pressure on the Jets now because, if you're a Jet fan and the Jets do drafted Drake May or the kid from Washington or something like that with their first round pick, now you're going to hear Jet fans or even Aaron Rodgers saying, why you drafted a quarterback in that spot where I'm going to be here? And I think if you're the Jets, you got to be saying, even if you are here, what am I going to get out of you at that point? So, Frankie Catalano, have a great night. Thanks for joining us, Frankie. Joe Cloak, you're right. USC, Ohio State has not given great quarterbacks, and they're all overrated. CJ Stroud has a chance to be the guy who breaks it for the Ohio State guys, but I'm with you. The USC guys, none of them are any good. Maybe go back to Pat Hayden. Maybe Pat Hayden was a decent quarterback. Right. Carson Palmer was a decent quarterback, but short of that, there weren't many other guys who you could actually say were good quarterbacks coming out of those schools. But guys, with 9:03, we're gonna move. We're gonna call it a night. It's been a lot of fun. Boy, I was thinking tonight I wouldn't have a lot to talk about, but boy, we cleared 2 hours easy, Jeff. You're right, Pat Hayden. But that was a lot of fun, brother. Good job by you tonight.
That always happens, you know that.
Yeah, no, we get going, and a couple subjects will dominate tonight, and it was a blast. So I wanted to thank my dad and all these guys, Frank and Joey, Adam Hines, Joe Gansas, everybody who I saw up on the screens tonight for popping in and spending some time with us and making the show fly by. So thank you guys. We love you all, and Johnny Collins, who was around for a little while. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I look forward to getting to next week, Jeff, and doing this all over again.
There you go, man. There you go.
Daylight savings time this weekend, folks. You're losing an hour, but we get more sunlight, so that's always a good thing.
Right, I gotta go to bed at like 6:30 on Saturday night.
Yeah. Yes, it's a tough one for you.
I hate this, man. I hate this.
I hear you. Listen, I hear you. Believe me, I hear you. But
I heard that this was the last year for this shit anyway, or something.
I don't know. I've heard this for the last few years that they want to do away with daylight savings time and all that, but they keep bringing it back. So I never understood the theory behind it. Don't matter to me. I know one week in the year I gain an extra hour of sleep, and 1 week in the year I lose an hour of sleep, and this is the weekend where I lose the hour of sleep.
You're off on Sunday for the most part, right?
For the most part, yeah.
So it really doesn't matter what happens. I got to get up early for work. I got to get up at 4:30.
That's very true. Very true.
That sucks.
Yes, which does suck. So hopefully you get some rest over the weekend and all that good stuff. But in the meantime, guys, we're going to bring this one to an end and say thank you to all of you guys. And we do appreciate you stopping by and hanging us for a couple hours and enjoying some laughs. So for everybody here at Hard Rocket Sports, I want to say thank you. Have a great night and a great weekend, a great week, and come on back next Thursday night when Jeff and I do this all over again. So again, for Jeff Tomlinski, myself, and everybody here at the Hard Rocket Sports Show, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday night when we do this again. Jeff, have a good one, pal. See you off the air.
Later, man. You got it.
Later.
Bye.